transplant biopsy. Now, I request Dr. Shailesh Soni, our senior nephropathologist who has been with us for many, many years after training in GPPI, to talk to us about renal transplant pathology during the first year after transplant. Shailesh, please go ahead. Amit, you may have to stop sharing and then Shailesh can share his screen.
Am I audible and visible, sir?
You're audible, certainly. I don't know about visible because I still see. Maybe my connection is poor, so I can hear you, but I can't see your screen. If everybody else can see it, yeah, now I can see.
Yes, Shailesh, your slides are visible. You can start,
Yeah.
Shailesh.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you very much for giving us opportunity to present pathology department in this transplant presentation. I'll start with briefly with some transplant pathology, that is how to evaluate renal allograft biopsy. Basically, it's a mainstay of the management of renal transplant dysfunction. There are many causes for allograft dysfunction, considering when we are reviewing the biopsy, including transplant surgery, associated injury, or graft rejection, or drug-related associated injury, or immunosuppression-related injury, or infections. And renal biopsy is the gold standard for diagnosis of graft dysfunction. So, how to evaluate on what line it should be evaluated? So, there are basically four lines, that is immunological rejection, to look for immunological rejection, then look for a auto or alloantibody mediated diseases, non-alloimmune injury, and recurrent primary disease. These are the four main categories which we look for into the renal allograft biopsy. So starting with the immunological rejection, first one is the most common is the antibody mediated rejection, which is more common in the first month of the transplant. And first of them is the hyperacute, which nowadays very rare to look at, followed by acute antibody mediated rejection, which is more common and which is more seen in the first week or first month of the transplant. And there are three categories: acute tubular injury, capillaritis, and arterial fibrinoid necrosis. These are the three main categories in case of antibody-mediated rejection. Then in the long term, after 6 months, we can see that chronic antibody-mediated rejection, where we can see transplant glomerulopathy or PTC multilamination, basement membrane multilamination, and transplant arteriopathy. And there are some C4D negative antibody-mediated rejection or isolated vascular lesions, which may be a part of subclinical antibody-mediated rejection. In case of T-cell mediated rejection, there are two categories. One is acute T-cell mediated rejection, where we find tubulointerstitium is predominantly involved, where tubulitis, various grade of tubulitis, that is T2, T3 grade of tubulitis is there. Then in type 2, BAM type 2, there is a endarteritis is involved, and in type 3, type 3 cell mediated rejection, there is a panmural fibrinoid necrosis of vessel wall is found. Whereas in case of chronic chronic cell mediated rejection, there is a tubulointerstitial inflammation and fibrosis is found, along with transplant arteriopathy, where in the intima there is a deposition of collagen, type 4 collagen material. Another category is auto or alloantibody mediated disease, where we can find de novo membranous glomerulonephritis due to development of antibody against basement membrane, or anti-GBM disease in Alport, especially in case of Alport patients. anti-nephrin disease in patient of Finnish type of congenital nephrosis, or anti-tubular basement membrane disease, or anti-angiotensin type 2 type 1 receptor syndrome. Another non-alloimmune injury, which is not primarily antibody-mediated rejection, is injury is acute ischemic injury due to drug-induced or vascular-induced or ischemia-induced kind of injury. That is more one of the most commonest cause of graft dysfunction. Second is drug toxicity, that is due to the many kind of immunosuppressive therapy or antiviral drugs or antibacterial drugs, which may lead to graft dysfunction. Then, as elaborately discussed by Dr. Abhijit Kundur and Hardik, multiple infections, viral as well as bacterial infections, which may lead to the graft dysfunction. Another non-alloimmune injury is vascular disease, or there is a injury with the pelvis or ureter. There is a development of de novo glomerular disease. There may be a neoplasia like post-transplant lymphoproliferative disease, and there sometimes we find IPTA of for no significant reason, like no previous antibody or cell-mediated rejection or any other cause could be found for that IPTA. Another category is recurrent primary disease, that is immunological or immune complex mediated disease like IgA nephropathy, lupus nephritis, or there will be a metabolic disease which may recur into the graft, renal allograft, that is amyloidosis, diabetes, or oxalosis, which are most common to recur. Then there are certain other conditions like dense deposit disease or FSDS, which are more common to recur in the transplant allograft. So there are certain ways to evaluate the graft biopsy, and out of that, BAMF scoring diagnostic scoring system is the most prevalent one, and it was started in late 80s. There were multiple scoring system was started, but out of that, BAMF scoring system has got become in forefront, and now the last update was came in 2018, and in this October there is a newer conference, BAMF conference is coming up in October in the Canada, BAMF Canada. So basically, it is a semi-quantitative scoring system, and features are scored a degree of tubulitis, extent of interstitial inflammation, presence of intimal arteritis, as well as C4D staining system, C4D staining of peritubular capillaries. And here is the various BAMF lesions and how to score them, like interstitial inflammation, that is written as small I, and it has been scored as grade 0, 1, 2, and 3. Just like tubulitis, intimal arteritis, glomerulitis, all the parameters has been scored individually, and then sum up to define what is the final score is and what is the final pathology could be. And this is the last 2018 classification, BAMF classification, beautifully described in detail. So this is the way how to define, that is artery or arteritis, capillaritis. Then we assign the score, we assign additional diagnostic parameter, and from that we define final BAMF diagnostic category, like whether it is falling into acute T-cell mediated rejection or acute antibody mediated rejection, what kind of pathology is there. So just we'll touch upon the few rejection process, that is antibody. First we will see the antibody mediated rejection. First is a hyperacute rejection. It is basically due to the pre-existing antibodies, most commonly either blood group antigen or an antibody to class 1 or class 2 antibodies, and in that there is a block of antibody react with the vessel wall, and there is a complete ischemia, cortical happens to be cortical necrosis, and with loss of architecture, renal architecture. Next comes the active antibody mediated rejection, which is usually this hyperacute rejection usually is seen immediately just after the placing the graft into the recipient, and usually graft becomes flaccid. Whereas in case of active antibody mediated rejection, it usually appears into the first month of the transplant. It is where we can see that there is a microvascular injury in form of glomerulitis as well as capillaritis, and there is a deposition of C4D along the peritubular capillary, which can be demonstrated by either immunofluorescence staining or by ISC staining. And here we can see that there is an inflammatory picture of glomerulitis. There is a second category, the active antibody mediated rejection, which requires the microvascular inflammation, intimal or transmural arthritis, or acute thrombotic microangiopathy. These are the three patterns of acute tissue injury in which antibody mediated rejection shows. Then there is a evidence of current or antibody interactions with vascular endothelium in form of C4D staining, or at least microvascular inflammation like glomerulitis, or plus peritubular capillaritis in more than score 2, or increased gene transcripts in biopsy tissue. So, and there is a positivity of donor-specific antibody, and all three things are required to call it active antibody-mediated rejection. Again, in chronic antibody-mediated rejection, we see glomerulitis, and there is a multilamellination of peritubular capillaries. So here we can see transplant glomerulopathy, severe peritubular capillary basement membrane lamination, and arterial intimal fibrosis. There may be linear C4D staining in capillary and serological evidence of DSA. These are the three criteria required to call it chronic antibody-mediated rejection. There are sometimes we see a C4D staining without evidence of rejection. Usually we see in case of ABO incompatible, this is more common with ABO incompatible graft. There are recent 2013 onward, there are molecular transcript, molecular assessment of transcript has been included for the diagnosis of acute as well as acute antibody as well as T cell mediated rejection. And there is a various recommendation for use of molecular diagnostic in case of acute antibody mediated rejection, where there is a histopathology, especially histopathology is inconclusive, where we have a glomerulitis and peritubular capillaritis, but there is no C4D staining or no detectable DSA, like condition where molecular transcriptome analysis will be helpful for the diagnosis. Then next is the T cell mediated rejection. That could be either acute T cell mediated rejection type 1, type 2, type 3, or chronic T cell mediated rejection, where we can see the classic tubulitis, where we see positioning of lymphocyte between the epithelial cells and tubular basement membrane, and we can clearly identify that this is a lymphocyte by halo surrounding the nucleus. Here we can see that there is a severe tubulitis with desquamation of epithelial cells. This is the type 1 tubulitis. Then type 2 T cell mediated rejection, we see additional vascular endothelitis, where we can see that the mononuclear cells going under the endothelial lining into the intima. And type 3 is where we have a more than 50% of involvement of vascular vessel wall. Also, in case of acute markers has been evaluated. Next comes the drug toxicity, that is more common, which we see on day-to-day basis. More common is CNI toxicity, where most common feature, one of the most common feature is we see a thrombotic microangiopathy, where we see fibrin-platelet thrombi filling up the glomerular capillary wall, as well as there is some fibrinoid necrosis of the vessel wall. And in that also CNI toxicity, we see classic isometric vacuolation of epithelial cells. Next is non-alloimmune injury, is viral infections. Most common is BKV and CMV infection, which we find in the practice. Here we can see that there is a large tubular epithelial cells, so intranuclear inclusion with classic ground glass appearance into the nucleus, large enlarged nucleus with ground glass intranuclear inclusion, and they are with SV40 ISC, the cells light of brown. And another condition is pyelonephritis, which we see very commonly in early graft dysfunction. So here we very briefly will see our MPH experience in transplant pathology. So before going to that, what we are expecting in pathology, what we expect in the first 6 months and more than biopsy in first 6 months of the transplant, and after 6 months of transplant. Predominantly in the first 6 months, it is more common is acute injury like acute cellular rejection or antibody mediated rejection, acute CNI toxicity or bacterial infection or some ischemic injury. And in the more than 6 months, we see basically a chronic rejection process or chronic infection or BKV nephropathy or recurrence or de novo glomerular disease and some malignant conditions. So here we have a last 10 years biopsy data. What we have received total of 8,447 biopsies, and out of that 1,772 at graft biopsy, that comes to around 20.9%. And demographically, almost 80% are male biopsy, as we have seen in previous discussion, where we have a male, predominantly male recipient, making almost 80% of the pool. So here we are, it's a graphic illustration year-wise, the number of total biopsy and graft biopsy. And here we see breakup of this graft biopsy, total of 216 in 2018, 191, 115 and 40 biopsy in 221, and breakup that is biopsy received in first week, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, and more than 1 year. So total of 257 biopsies. And here, first 1 week we have received 17% of the biopsy, 22% is 1 month, 18% in 3 months, 15% in 6 months, and 28% in the up to 1 year biopsies. Here we haven't calculated the biopsy which have a more than 1 year duration of post-transplant. So what are the predominant morphological diagnosis we see in our post-transplant biopsy? Total of 326 post-transplant biopsy we evaluated from 2018 to 2001, and out of that the most common diagnosis was acute tubular injury, followed by IFTA, and then acute cellular rejection, TMA, and 11. However, around 82 biopsies, we couldn't find any significant morphological changes, even though patient has a rise in the renal rise in serum creatinine. Percent-wise, that falls into 25% of total biopsy group, where we couldn't find any morphological reason to call it for graft dysfunction. If percent-wise, again, it is the acute tubular injury was the highest lesion found, that is 10.5%, followed by chronic changes, that is 9.8%. Rejection in total come to around, if we consider acute cellular and antibody mediated rejection, that comes to around total 20% of total biopsy pool. So if we break up this biopsy pool into biopsy received in the first week, the most common pathology we found is acute tubular injury and antibody-mediated rejection and thrombotic microangiopathy. These are the three most common morphology we see in the first case of in the first week of the post-transplant period. From 1 week to 1 month, again we see the acute tubular injury is the most common, maybe due to the that could be due to the reperfusion injury or due to CNI toxicity or any drug-induced injury. That could be the reason for acute tubular injury, followed by antibody-mediated rejection. Or there may be some number of biopsies where we can see peritubular capillaritis, but there was no associated C4D positivity or DSA positivity. But we suspect that this could be a case of again antibody-mediated rejection. From 1 month to 3 months, again we have a antibody-mediated rejection, but again here we see that cell-mediated rejection was more is the case in case of biopsy from 1 month onward, where we have a 6 case out of 48. 6 cases are proven acute cellular rejection, and some form of tubulitis was identified in 7 cases. And from one here we can see that couple of cases so glomerulonephritis, some pyelonephritis also has been evident at the 3 months. From 6 months to 1 year onward, the most feature shows the chronic changes, that is in form of IPTA, that could be a donor origin or that is a sequelae of previous rejection process or tubular injury or any other kind of injury to the graft. Or in couple of cases we see BK polyoma nephropathy, and here a couple of cases were also present of TMA or acute rejection, but predominant was the chronic changes are being apparent from 6 months onward. And at 1 year, again, the most common features was IPTA and followed by chronic rejection process in the graft. Also, there was a simultaneously 13 cases of acute cellular rejection, which was maybe due to the non-compliance or some other cause of in part of a patient, or there may be a true acute cellular rejection process that is and a few cases we have seen of thrombotic microangiopathy. Most probably they were of CNI toxicity, and couple of cases of pyelonephritis also we found in the late 1 year at 1 year. So predominantly up to 6 months, up to 6 months of post-transplant period, which is more of acute features. Acute pathology we are finding in form of acute cellular or acute antibody-mediated rejection, whereas from 6 months onward, it is more of chronic changes in form of chronic rejection process, IPTA, or some other glomerulonephritis changes that we are seeing recurrence or de novo glomerulonephritis kicking in, and also few cases of acute cellular rejection were also identified as late as 1 year in the biopsy. So in conclusion, acute rejection process and TMA is most common in the first week of post-transplant biopsy. T-cell mediated rejection, acute tubular injury, and pyelonephritis takes over from 1 week to 3 months, and beyond 3 months, there is a we see more cases of chronic rejection and IPTA, and as well as BK polyoma virus nephropathy. Thank you.
Thank you, Shailesh, for this excellent overview of the transplant biopsies in our institute. And you have added a new dimension to you and Amit have added a new dimension to the diagnosis of graft dysfunction. Thank you very much for that. I think we have gone much later time, so now I'll hand it over to Dr. Shishir Gang for his comments, and finally maybe comments by Dr. Sabnis and Dr. Najib. So that I hand it over to Shishir.